Hello and welcome back to Ground Level Theology. We have a special episode here. I'm sure you guys have already watched the youth ministry episode with Ben, and now we just kind of want to take this time to get to know Ben a little bit more and what exactly his story is and how he got here. So, welcome back, Ben.
Hello,
And
Dave.
with me, as always, co-host to Ground Level Theology, my guy, Dave.
Awesome. Welcome to be welcomed.
All right, Ben.
Yo.
I gotta ask, did you grow up in the church? Like, are
Yes.
you one of those Christian kids?
Yes. But yeah, I kind of like went to church and then with my grandma.
Mhm.
And so I was like going to church when I was younger. And then my grandma passed away, moved, and then my friend, I didn't know they were friends at the time, invited me to go to church. And yeah, in high school I started hanging
Okay.
out and going to church with them and yeah. So I kind of did grow up in the church though, yeah.
I love that testimony.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
Dave,
it's the best
you
kind.
you have that testimony too.
I do. I have the best testimony. I've never known a day where I haven't known the Lord.
Oh, amen.
It's
I'm
the best one.
I'm always jealous of those testimonies. I had a little bit of a wandering faith,
I wasn't
but
addicted to crack.
well,
I should.
neither was I. Don't
Yeah.
say that.
Okay.
People are
Whoa.
gonna
No, I
think
know.
that
I'm
I
sorry.
was.
Hey,
We're all like looking like
I
Spider-Man.
know.
Like,
No, I wasn't.
yeah,
I'm being ganged up on here.
yeah. He didn't. Mike didn't do crack. Everybody.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
awesome.
Do not cancel him.
Yes, it was
Yes.
math.
Like
This Matt.
like this and put a comment in the comment section.
Oh no.
Comment if you think he has. Just
Oh
kidding.
no,
Yes. He's
don't.
just messing around.
Oh,
Oh,
all right.
Oh
You guys have
gosh.
the awesome
wow.
testimonies. But that being said, all right. So you grew up in the church.
Yeah.
How exactly did you go from being, in the church, pews, if you can say that, or just listening to the sermon? How did you transition into like teaching youth ministry?
Whoa, that's a crazy story. So me and my friends, our youth pastor wanted us to hang out with him and do youth ministry, like help him
Hang
stack
out with
chairs
me.
and pick up trash.
Mm.
I was on that patrol. It was fun. It was cool times. I impressed all the girls.
Yeah, how
Like,
many chairs
Yeah.
were
How
you
many
able to
chairs?
stack and hold?
wow. So it depends on the type of chair. They had the
Okay.
steel ones. So they had some of the steel
Oh,
ones.
okay.
And
Yeah.
so the steel ones, I mean, you were a man if you could do 4 or 5. Like
Yeah.
you were a man on each
World's
side.
strongest man.
On
Yeah.
each side, yeah. And then they had the one with the rolling thing, and that one was like 20
Uh,
chairs high.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Work
So
Those
smarter,
were
not
fun.
harder.
We had those too. So it was like
I know for
stacking
sure.
so high.
They're gonna fall over. No, it's not.
Yeah. Church scooters
Maybe
were
if you
still.
stacked them, but not with me.
Not with me. They're even. But yeah, so I kind of started doing that. Then someone didn't show up for sound or the computer, and so I was like, okay, I'll go back there and figure it out. And I've always been a quick learner like
Oh
that. So
man.
Uh,
yeah, so learned how to do sound and media, and that was
yeah.
perfect. I just don't really like the limelight.
Yeah.
And so it was like amazing. That was my favorite ministry ever. Um, and
You're a
then
millennial. Do the sound.
I know, right? Hey, click the 97 PowerPoint. Swoop in. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh gosh.
Slide in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have, and then after that, then we had some interns doing worship, and they left, and so I had to pick up some my guitar that was dusting away in the closet. Did
Wow.
did worship ministry. I'm not a singer, but I could plan. So I did some of that, and so like I would make copies of the music, hand that out, and stuff like that, and yeah, and then they asked me to, help out with like the game side, and then also like I ran a small group, so seventh grade boys, which I know you guys are jealous. It's
I
okay.
am.
It's okay. You guys are so jealous right now. And then so we had
Today's
seventh
object
grade.
lesson: deodorant. Go.
When it's wet, leave your shoes. Do not put them inside the house. Okay, guys?
Oh
Just
gosh.
trust.
So true.
Just trust. And then yeah, and then our pastor at the point, at that point had a he's like burning out, he's going to school like you are, right? So yeah, he's going for his doctorate, and he was just teaching every week, 2 services a week, and just going down pretty hard. And yeah, so he asked me to start teaching every 3 months there. So it was kind of cool, but it wasn't like teaching like normal. It was like, hey, give me like kind of an outline and say, hey, just plug in your personal stories and you'll be good to go. So
Hmm,
completely
okay.
different than it is now, but
So you, I
yeah,
mean, you essentially starting out just kind of attending,
yeah.
but it sounds like by the time you got to there, I mean, you essentially did everything in the church,
Yeah,
or
well,
at least
yeah,
you
because
had
I,
your hands
I
in it
was
at one
even at
point.
that point, I was even planning camps, which that should no volunteer should ever plan a camp. Just telling you right now, probably bad move
That's crazy to
with
think.
without a church email. Like by the way, like I was rocking on a Yahoo email, so
Oh man,
it's
dude,
pretty cool.
we
So
stand on your
you're
shoulders.
I just realized
Yeah,
as I'm sending out my resumes, and stuff to places, I was looking for a job, and then I see these things like, oh, we want a pastor or we want a youth pastor with about 2 years, 5 years of experience. You're the guy they were talking about. You're
yeah,
the one that like got in at like 16.
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I didn't have any paper with me, so what are you
Nah.
gonna do, man?
Oh
That's
man,
so funny.
that is funny.
Well, all right, so we get to hear a little bit about your
Yeah.
church. What kind of a church was that? Like,
Well, it was super topical. And so
oh,
like
okay.
what they would do is like it's February. So we're just gonna talk about love this month,
Nice.
And so
Valentine's
like
Day.
literally we'd rip out verses from the Bible and out of context and yeah, I know now.
Yep.
I know now.
Ooh.
And just rip it out and just kind of make it crazy and cringy. We had one sermon series we did during October and we called it Chalktober. And
Oh
so
no.
what we did is every night we would end service where we'd dump like a whole thing of like liquid chocolate syrup over somebody, and then
Wow.
it
Oh,
was we would do stories that were kind of
no
gross in the
judgment,
Bible,
but
you know, like
Oh my
it
oh,
goodness.
was
dude,
horrible.
That's
It was
crazy.
terrible. It
would
was
this been a
terrible.
cringe react? Would
Yeah.
this been a cringe
It,
react
This would have
episode?
been a cringe react.
Oh
That
my
sounds.
gosh.
it was terrible. It was terrible.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
And but it was like
Well,
like it was
yeah.
I was following these pastors' vision. Hey, give me the worksheet. I got you.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's what you followed. He gave you the
Yeah.
worksheet, and you taught that.
Yeah, so he would give you like, hey, here's the points, here's the vibe I'm going for, and then you would fill in certain parts and stuff.
Is that sort of because if that's the church that you're in and you have that, is
Yeah.
that sort of the way that you learn to preach then?
Yeah, absolutely. I had to completely relearn how to preach. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
100%. Yeah. Like I've been able to take pretty much nothing with me. I have a few little pieces I've been able to salvage, but not much.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I mean, all those were really like I look back at them now. I still have a couple of the notes, very poorly
Uh,
written.
you're like,
Like
Oh
never
man.
again. You're
yeah,
like, I'm
never
not doing it.
It
again.
looked like one of Dave's sermons.
Oh,
Like
I'm
what? Like
just,
when I was like
I'm,
8?
I'm
No, I'm
just
just
wow.
kidding.
kidding. No,
Hey,
I'm
hey, are
joking.
you gonna trust him? He's gonna wear that jacket around you. You're not gonna be able to see him. He's gonna punch you.
I know. Like, dude,
No,
do you want me to come
I
in
only say that
December?
because I literally just like I had
He's
just
like,
gone
Jordan.
through complimenting him this weekend on one of his sermons.
Yeah,
So
thank you
he
for that.
knows I'm joking.
Yeah.
I do now. No, I'm just kidding. I'm
Jeez.
just like, I know, buddy.
Yeah,
I know. You made me smile.
yeah, that soundbite was really good too.
It makes me.
Um, okay, so
Yeah.
we're coming out of a topical
Yeah, where
Yeah.
were
type
we?
church.
Right.
Here's a topic
Moving
sermon
on,
for
I
you.
just kind of dug myself a hole, and I'd like to get out of it.
I have a shovel in the corner if you like one.
Yeah,
No, I'm
I'll give you a
fine.
shovel
I'm
too.
fine.
It's so mean. Now we're just trolling Mike. I love it.
Yeah.
All right.
This is
Okay,
the
I'll chill.
second time too.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Next question.
Yeah. So I mean, you were coming out of a topical church,
Yeah.
and you kind of learned to preach that way.
Yeah.
It, is that the way the youth was as well? Like, what was the?
Man, so it was very entertainment based. It was like
Okay.
very over programmed, if you will. So, every minute was planned for. So we had a schedule that we would rock with.
Hmm.
And so there wasn't a lot of grace in there. So it was like, hey, all right,
Oh wow.
yeah. So 7:03 that we gotta land the welcome. That's it
Wow, that like
Oh,
to the T.
to the minute. Yeah.
Wow.
welcome.
And Yeah, exactly. And then boom to icebreaker, and you have this much time and this much time and this much time. And so it was just really fast paced and it moved super quick. Um, and so it just rocketed through, and it like so essentially like you had to like be very, very punctual. But that's the way that the church had it, and so what they were trying to do is trying to make it super seeker friendly, and
Oh,
and,
okay.
and
I was
trying to
just thinking that
and
too.
trying to like basically what they were doing was like they would bring in like ice cream like from an ice cream store, not from the grocery store, like a store like Baskin Robbins or something, or they'd bring in Taco Bell tacos or
Hmm.
whatever.
Yeah,
They
I'd
they
go there.
Yeah, I know for sure, right? Exactly. So
Baja
they would
Blast.
bring that in as part of the thing, and they would try to suck you in, but with the over programming, it just didn't leave a lot of time for
Hmm.
anything. There was no room to do
Yeah.
Yeah,
anything.
because
How are you
if you
going to
have
be
all of
genuine?
that,
Have those
where's
Yes.
conversations? Yeah.
Zero chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and if you're doing all of that, like how much time do you have for sermons then?
Yeah, so the sermons were probably roughly like 10 to 12 minutes.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not. Yeah.
What?
Like your introduction. The
Yeah, and then
country.
on top of that too, they were trying to like press through and do small groups, which small groups were
Oh,
6 minutes. Like makes no
uh,
sense.
How?
Yeah, I know, right?
smalls in time and not size.
Yes.
Like,
Well,
gosh.
and that was a big youth group I was at. So like our junior high boys by themselves, it was like just seventh grade dudes. It was like we had, 13, 14 kids. We couldn't even get
Wow.
around the circle,
Dude,
you
you
know?
need 15 minutes just for each one to share 1 minute. And you
Yeah.
gave me
Nothing.
6.
Yeah, we had six
Gosh.
minutes. It was
It just
great.
don't work. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It was not
That's
great.
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so so that I mean that's quite the portrait of where you're starting at.
Yeah.
I know you're here at Calvary Chapel Monrovia now,
Yeah.
so there's definitely a journey here.
Sure.
Where did you go after that church?
Well, so here's what happened. This is the crazy thing with this whole journey was like
But
so.
wait, there's more.
But wait, I'm like, hey, if you do now, I have free shipping and handling. Just yeah,
Nice.
yeah, all right. But yeah, so no, so I was at that church serving and doing all this stuff, right? And I was just like, man, I just felt like the call from the Lord. I've always just wanted to be a super servant, just somebody in the background, just being there to help. Where can I help the pastor out? Because I feel like, hey, listen, we need to. These pastors just have immense amount of responsibility on their
Yep.
shoulders, and I just wanted to help,
Yep.
and
Yep.
and so.
We need more
But
bents.
but I was doing these thing and I was like, man, what's going on here? And so I just started praying like, Lord, like what else do you want from me? How else can I help? And he just like calmly in my back of like my ear just said more.
Hmm.
More. And I was like, what are you talking about, dude? I'm like preaching. I'm like doing small groups. Like, what do you mean more? And so I started praying about it more and more. And like, I just like, oh, wait a second. You want me to get more education
Hmm.
because I was never a good student in high school at all. And
Me
so
either.
like I just reading is just not my jam and stuff like that. Um, I watched the Bible movie, didn't help. Um, um, and so I was like just praying about it. And so what ended up happening was I started talking to like our executive team, the pastor, because this was a really highly funded church. I started talking to them about it. I was like, so I'm just thinking about this, and so they were counseling me a little bit. They said, hey, listen, there's, around here, there's Azusa Pacific University and Biola and Fuller and these places where you can kind of go and get the education. I'm like, well, listen, man, I'm not like, I don't want to go into ministry for money at all. Like, that's just not, I just, no, no, just not me. And I said, okay, cool. And then like kind of like so well he said, well, maybe then there's a Calvary Chapel program where you can kind of just get it done, And I had never been to a Calvary Chapel church. I had family members that had just started coming to one. I just had never been to a Calvary Chapel. And so basically I decided to go visit a Calvary Chapel and check it out. And so we went to a Calvary Chapel, and the first announcement, we sat down after worship, and the first announcement was like, hey, we're starting a Bible ministry school program. and I was like,
Gosh,
oh no.
coincidence.
My
My
wife
God.
looked at me and she was like, Elaine, she looked at me and went, okay, like what's that? and
Yeah.
and and so it was really funny. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. And so then I met with the person who was running the program after, and Oddly enough, you know what they said? They said, "Hey, listen, this program is on the date of your midweek." And
Oh wow.
we
Oh,
had our youth group on Tuesday night. The school was on Tuesday night. This
oh.
before, Zoom and all that stuff was going off
Hmm.
too. No recordings, no nothing. So if you want to go, you got to go. And so, yeah, prayed about it, made the decision. Lord confirmed it a bunch of times, and we left that church and then went over to Calvary Chapel, Monrovia, and
Okay, so it was Calvary Chapel Monrovia.
yeah,
So how many years was it from when you kind of fumbled your way into youth ministry
yeah,
to the kind of that moment?
7. I was at the church for 7 years.
Okay,
Yeah,
7
Wow.
yeah,
years.
yeah.
Wow.
Because well, I had been there for probably 6.5. There was a time where we were going to a small church, like a tiny, tiny church, and it was going down. It was an old Foursquare church, and it was just going
Yeah.
down. It was
Oh,
something that
fun.
my family had kind of grown up in, really Pentecostal and stuff, and
Yeah, we got a
just
couple out here.
I
yeah.
gotta be honest. I've
Just
been
a
to a
couple.
couple Foursquare churches. I have not seen one that was thriving.
No, well,
No.
I mean, they were just heavy in tongues,
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and so,
Yeah.
they just were starting to go down. I tried to go in there and help, and we did all right, but I was not equipped, wasn't the guy, and
So
so
you went from the seeker friendly to the Foursquare
yeah,
Pentecostal.
where they were trying to implement the seeker friendly stuff, and it didn't work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
Ah, great. Hodgepodge.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So they're like, hey, everybody, we're gonna read, 40 Days of Purpose and stuff like that. Sorry, another Rick Warren joke, but
Yeah.
Nice.
but
Hope's Driven Church.
yeah, they're gonna read that, and then they kind of go and they tried. It just the spirit wasn't there in
Yeah.
it. Yeah, and so it ended up
That's
closing.
ironic.
Yeah, I
Yes,
know.
The
it is.
spirit wasn't
Yes, it
there.
is.
Yeah, spirit
Oh,
wasn't
God.
there, man.
Oh man. Okay. And then from there you
Yep.
came across Calvary Chapel
Yeah,
Monrovia.
absolutely. Yep, for sure. Yeah, as part of like schooling stuff, and I had no idea how they taught or anything, and so I wanted to make sure before I deep dive into this, and I heard the way that Calvary Chapel was teaching, and it just blew my mind because it was Calvary Chapel is just for those of you guys who don't know, it's supposed to be basically chapter by chapter, concept by concept, verse by verse,
Yeah.
teaching as much as possible. Some sections of the word it's just not easy to do that, but as much as possible, that's kind of like how it's supposed to be. And so
That's so
Yeah.
nice.
I
I
was
do it.
literally
I
blown
love it.
away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do it
It's so
too.
fascinating too because it's like it's weird when you meet people that are coming out of other churches and they say that's what they love about the church.
yeah,
Because it's like it's sort of weird to think about that other churches aren't
yeah,
teaching that way. It's like, wait, you're not explaining the text verse by verse, book
yeah,
by book. Like, just
It's
what are you
so
doing? And
right. Like my people do it too. They're like if anyone asks them like, hey, like it's just kind of funny. It's like you could ask them like, what did you talk on 2 weeks ago? They'd be like, well, oh, well, I guess yeah. We're on John 11 now, so I guess we were on John 8 or 9. You know, like they're just trying to it's like, and we'll probably be in John 12 next week. Like, don't quote me on it, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like they could just
yeah,
kind of,
right.
or if you didn't do the whole chapter, it's like, well, it's because we're gonna do the rest of the chapter.
yeah. We're not done.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're not done. Like it's so fun, and then when you're preaching it too, like
Yeah,
being the pastor, it's like, well, I don't have to worry about what I'm preaching on next week because I already I know the passage. Like I'm gonna have to read it and study and all that, but it's like I don't have to go, what am I doing this week? And then the next week goes by. Well, what topic this week? It's like, no,
yeah.
just next. You
For
finish
sure.
the
Well,
book.
that's the
Yeah.
funny thing with topicals. You know what I mean? Like honestly, the Bible's already themed, and we're just making it so much harder.
Yeah.
Like they were making it so much harder, and so because it's a lot easier to teach too, because you're teaching in context. Like
Yeah.
it's all it's
The
it
way,
was
the right
looking.
way. Like it just works. Don't you just love being right?
Yeah.
Just kidding. Just playing.
Yeah, it's like say what you want to say using all these different movies. Or you could just teach the movie.
Yeah.
It's kind of a
Like
story in
one
and of
movie.
itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird to think that other people are doing these different styles. Like I can't imagine doing a topical sermon every week. That I
It's
think I would
already
burn
hard.
out.
It's
Yeah,
tough.
I would
Like
burn
it's so
out in probably by the third week.
Yeah, well, I mean, topical is so the one thing that I did like take with me is the topical stuff does help when you have to do like a one-off.
Yeah.
Like if
for
you have
sure.
her like get invited to teach somewhere where they don't know you, like it's probably the best. You
Hmm.
know,
Uh-huh.
because oh man, dude, I'm not gonna be able to get through all this context in First Corinthians, you know. Like, all right, cool. So let's go ahead and rock a topical here real quick.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
a really familiar story that everybody knows,
Yeah.
Yeah.
hypothetically. Yeah.
And if you know your people well, also, if you know them, it's like, hey, you know, we've been in Ezekiel, let's say for all this time, we've been in it for 30 weeks,
Yeah.
but like we just, like what if you were like you've been in Ezekiel, but 9/11 happens, and then you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, like you know what, we got to talk about it.
Yeah.
Everyone's thinking about it. Everyone's saying, I got to call an audible here.
Or
Topic.
Advent. Yeah.
Advent.
Advent.
Yeah, that's like
Yeah,
here. I mean, that's Sunday. Like,
exactly.
woohoo. Yeah. I mean, thankfully that's taken care of for me. I got that outlined. But,
Nice.
mm-hmm. Topics.
Yeah. So
Anyway,
like coming out of all of that, getting to Monrovia now, what are some like life lessons that you were able to kind of glean all the way up to that point?
mm,
So to Monrovia, one thing that I really kind of connected with was they had some pieces from philosophies that they had pulled from like youth conferences that they went to from Doug Fields, who's like a youth ministry guru,
oh yeah.
and so they had pulled a few things that they had done from him that was like really good, and so some of the philosophy that they had was actually pretty decent. The execution was just really poor. And
Hmm.
so what they were doing was trying to do too much. And
Hmm.
and so because they had done a good job with like giving away pieces to leaders, but they made a mistake because they didn't vet them well enough. And
Uh,
and so like, oh, that's a good idea, or like, hey, you want your youth ministry to be fast paced and you want to have all these high energy games and this, that, and
right.
the other thing. So, the pieces I was able to steal from that really helped over here. And also like one thing that I learned too was coming from a church and that just had a high turnover, but they had a high invite rate. And so I figured,
Mm,
when I was like, how can we fix that problem? And so I've always like tried to learn from others' mistakes. And so I
oh,
took
very
what they
good.
did well, and then I took what Calvary Chapel did well, and I mixed them together. And then so we have a really weird hodgepodge. Like I don't do youth ministry like anybody else in Calvary Chapel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, your teaching style is pretty interesting because
yeah,
both, I mean, we do the 3 point sermon or whatever, but
yeah,
as even I've been teaching people to preach and my preaching students and stuff, I sort of like kind of kind of named your teaching style as like a shotgun approach
yeah,
because your teaching style is geared towards the youth,
yeah.
and like their attention span is a lot less. Well, actually, you can
Yeah.
go ahead and explain it.
Yeah, so yeah, our teaching style is fast. Because what we're trying to do is our youth only have so much attention span time. If you're not able to capture them within 3 to 5 seconds, they're gone. And so if you go off on a topic they're not interested in, they're not hanging with you. They're gone. And
Yeah,
so with the Bible, thankfully, with the way we teach, there's so many different parts and so many different roads we can go down. And so what I do typically is I kind of touch on a bunch of little stuff all the way through, and then I end hard with a point. Like, hey, this is the main thought, this is the main spirit of this text. And so even though I talked about all these little things quickly, this is the main thought in detail. Because like adults and stuff, they want you to really drill down on it. Hey, let's throw the Greek in there, right? Let's throw
yeah,
the Hebrew in there. Like,
Yep.
let's talk about, when Jesus said this and how he was referencing the book of Exodus. What was going on in the book of Exodus? Dude, they're gone. They're
yeah,
gone. They're gone.
Yeah.
You can only do maybe one to two cross references max, right? And so with the kids and stuff, it's just to keep their attention and keep them moving, keep their brains moving and hustling. And the less flipping they do in their Bible, the better, because they're keeping on track in one area. And so what we try to do is like have them once. So like I kind of do it. It's called like I do a modified 1 point sermon.
Hmm.
So I take one word and then I yeah, use like a thesaurus and I like grab three words that mean the same thing and I pop them in
Don't you like
because
English? Don't you
yeah,
like to do that?
exactly. I just pop them in, and because like typically like that's the spirit of the text. That's what the Lord revealed to me. Like, hey, listen, the spirit of this text is, being faithful. All right, cool. What are some other words for faithful? And then just boom, boom, boom. And so it kind of looks like a mess to some people, but like for youth ministry, it's highly effective.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't understand what you're doing here.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
you're a mess. Okay, you're fine. Like, I'm just
No,
like,
it's so funny because when I was teaching, preaching to the students, I was like, he's got a style in and of itself that's exactly geared towards youth. Now,
correct.
I have them, in a very structured way that they're supposed to follow, but but when I look at yours, I'm like, man, there's so many bullet points here. I like it just bugs me.
Well, like, is it like more it's not even like more inductive than deductive, is
Yeah.
it? Or is it
Well, a lot of the
like
times I'm
fun
just,
fact, fun fact, fun
yeah.
fact. This is
Well,
why it all
no.
matters.
Yeah, no, I just
Yeah.
like, well, I mean, I spend a little time just like restating the text as it, in
Yeah.
section, just a small recap because sometimes whenever, because I go through verses in chunks, so I'll be like,
Right.
hey, listen, so we read verses 1 through 5. I'm just gonna re-explain it to you real quick, boom, 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 and then I get into, kind of some of the meat to it. I kind of
Yeah.
update it in today's terms and
Yeah.
things like
So you
that.
gotta have like you actually gotta have like really solid transitions
Yeah.
almost. I
Yeah.
feel like our sermons we're gonna have like, yeah, a main point, explanation of the text, maybe you illustrate a concept that's a little abstract you want to make more concrete, and then you try to apply it next, and then you put a nice bow on it at the end.
Yeah.
Right.
And our transitions are, a sentence to just enough so we can go back to doing what we want to do instead of
Yeah.
introducing a topic, just talking about it.
Yeah.
Whereas for you, it's like, no, no, no. I'm like, I'm weaving a tapestry, and like you're kind of doing it from like how you do all tapestries. You're doing it from the back, and you're like so many threads,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then it's like, but then you flip it around, and then bam, haha,
Exactly. Yeah,
beautiful,
cause I end
beautiful
on
piece.
application, right? So like we only do one
Exactly.
application, one, because again I'm trying to do like a one pointer. So like
They
if
can
someone
hold
said, "Hey,
away.
what did you get?" Like, "All right, cool. This is what you're hearing," you know?
Right on.
Yeah. And
Learn,
those
Mike.
1 point sermons, they work too, because I've seen you and you don't lose their attention.
Yeah.
Like
No.
they're right on with you because you're bringing out a lot of cool stuff about the text, but you're hammering 1 point, and you're in case they missed it, you're gonna give it in a different word.
That's right.
So
Well, like even yeah, like even in our propositions, dude, like we'll have like a big idea, but like even like if you have a proposition in like your sermon, like I had like like I think oh yeah, it was on Psalm 1, right? And it's kind of like, not just like you just become who you surround yourself with, but you can like have the same verses and it's like God is teaching us that who you allow into your life and who you keep out has a tremendous impact on the person that you can become. And it's like, and then the 3 points are like, this is what you will become if you're sitting in the seat of scoffers, or this is what you will become if like all you're repeating like you'll become, and then you can even have like an application, yeah, of like, but this is who you become when you're in Christ. Yay, bow.
Exactly.
No, but like
Boom.
gospel, yeah. But it's like all you're doing is just, not just all you're doing, but if you just even repeat the same phrase in your points, even if they're different points actually, because you're just bringing out a different angle, but because you say the same like
yeah.
sticky phrase, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like yeah, alliteration, Mike. You
Yeah.
love when you do all your P's. The
Well,
pontification.
it's it's cool to see that you you didn't completely just trash what you were coming out of with the topical. You're actually able to say like, well, I know where I'm at now, but I can actually take that and I can actually, spit out the bones,
Yeah.
and so you've taken that and you're able to still utilize the topical in its correct way rather than kind of the way that you learned it. But so now we're over here at Monrovia, and now you're already a youth pastor. Um, from where you started to where you're at now, what's something that you kind of struggled through with?
So again, I had to break a bunch of bad habits.
Hmm.
But I think that one of the things that kind of was always a difficult thing was, so like I've like I said before, dude, I really haven't ever wanted like a title. I don't want to get paid. Like I have all these things because I don't know, dude. I just want to be the Apostle Paul, right? Go out there and make
Make
some
some
tents and then
tents.
go make disciples, right? Make tents,
Hmm.
make disciples. We should make that a
So
shirt.
simple.
Do you guys have merch yet?
Do it, and we don't,
Make
but
tents, make disciples. Like can I
Dude.
don't know.
copyright right now.
Right now,
Yeah.
tag it.
Dude, we need merch. Let's
Yeah,
go.
it's true. Let me get
I'd
some merch
wear it.
going.
Let's go.
But like one of the things that was a problem though, a lot of the times was, like, oh well, you're not the youth pastor,
Yeah.
and so, but the thing was that it wasn't a problem because it was just like I don't care. I don't. It just doesn't even matter to me. I'm doing the work of the Lord, the work the Lord's called me to do, rather than try to like say, oh well, this is a job title and that kind of thing comes with extra responsibility. It was never like that. It was something that was installed in me through the Holy Spirit to do what I'm doing. And so, but it did make it difficult because there's certain things whenever you have a title that gives you access to that you don't necessarily have access to, and so of course I hit some of those walls, and so like that part right there was a struggle for me. Like being that I've been in youth ministry 20 years, I've seen some of our kids get married. Some of the kids like that, like I've been through my youth
Mm.
groups through the years, get married, and it's like it was always like awkward.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, so you're the pastor. I'm like, well, actually, no, I'm just a guy.
Yeah.
I'm just a
Well, see,
dude.
that's another problem, right? Like, oh, the youth
Yeah.
pastor is just the failed senior pastor. He
Yeah.
just could he didn't
No,
make
no,
the
no.
cut.
It's
He
triple A.
wasn't
It's
even
It's the minor
triple.
leagues, right?
yeah, he
It's the
Yeah.
minor
was
leagues.
he wasn't
Boom.
even youth pastor.
Yeah.
It's sort of
Oh.
funny because like you and
Yeah.
I kind of suffered from that. It
Yeah.
was like we had to say we're not the youth pastor, we're the youth leaders.
Youth
Yeah.
Right.
ministry leader.
Yeah.
Yep.
uh
Volunteer
we
leaders.
hadn't quite earned that
Facilitator.
title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It's just like,
it's sort of a unique thing because I mean serving alongside with you and when I was in high school and you're in middle school,
Yeah.
it it's sort of like a toxic thing that I don't think people really see. I mean, I know you don't really care
Right.
about the title, neither do I. Like I knew I was a pastor before I went to Moody because that's what God called me to.
Right.
I knew I would get there eventually. I didn't really care what people called me. And I know you didn't either, but there was sort of this thing that was going on of like people were saying like, "Hey, so and so got, they're a pastor now. Why aren't you?"
Yeah. That happened a lot.
And
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know.
well, actually,
Like
yeah.
that, I'm not the person to ask, but like I'm serving.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
yeah, I wish people wouldn't do that because it's sort of like it's
Well,
sort of like gossip in a way.
in a way, I just like a lot of people do it as a sign of respect, but it's not like I'm not like I'm like,
Yeah.
well, like you have the wrong impression of me if that's what you think, you know? Because like I mean,
Mm.
honestly, I feel like pastors are just known. They're known by their fruits, right? And
Yeah.
so like if you're doing a good job, it's just seen. So it just well, and like like when you're doing pastor stuff that you're not a pastor but you're doing things that are like really like good, people like start talking and it's bad. Like,
Yeah.
it just creates gossip, and it's terrible, but like, like cuz in some ways like dude, I could run circles around some of my old pastors.
Yeah.
And it's and partly because there is a burden with being a pastor, right? But the other part too, it's like, well, it's like this is what I'm called to, like, and you may have taken it just because they asked you to, or I don't
Yeah.
know,
Mm.
whatever reason that you might
Yeah.
have.
And it's not even like, oh, like I'm a like ordained pastor in 15 minutes
Yeah.
online kind of
Right,
thing. All right?
right,
Like no, like it's not like, no, it's like I'm just doing pastoral things.
right.
Plus, like, yeah, you look at the New Testament, it's like, uh, yeah, this is Timothy, pastor of the Church of Ephesus. I don't see an MDiv behind his name. You know, I think if you're going to be a pastor, I think there should be some level of training.
Sure.
You should be discipled, and you're being
Yeah.
poured into, and you're studying God's word with someone. But like, yeah, like, okay, but there's four letters by your name, and now you're legit. It's like,
Exactly.
gosh, all the
Yeah.
qualifications for elders and deacons, like, one relates to teaching, everything else is character and the fruits that you bear. So he's not really a pastor. He's just doing everything a pastor should do. But we don't call him P. Ben, so
No,
sorry.
no.
From from that from where you started to kind of when you finally were ordained as a pastor,
Yeah.
like how many years was that?
19.
19 years.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah, okay,
Wait
so
in the
that
state of
so
sports.
folks, that is why he's youth ministry 20 years, past youth pastors 1 year. That's sort of, I guess that sort of explains why all of
Like
that
a
is, and
fine
that's why I
wine.
said, yeah. Um, I know for me, because we were lucky enough to share the stage on our ordination.
Yeah.
I was ordained as a pastor the same day, the same event, right next to each other.
Right.
When you were
Like, we're not
ordained
on the
as a
same level.
pastor. Yeah, and to me, it was a huge milestone because I finally felt like I was recognized.
Mm.
And I don't know if you share that sentiment. Um, I'm just saying it for myself, but like, did that feel like a milestone for you?
Um, so like I felt recognized on the day I was ordinated.
Mm-hmm.
Ordinated, right?
Ordained.
Or
Yeah.
no, ordinated is better.
Okay.
Just kidding.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Um,
Originated?
originated?
What?
Okay.
Yeah.
Originate,
Extra crispy.
arugulated?
Ordinaried? I don't know. Just kidding. Sorry.
Oh man. No, so I felt like that was a cool time to be recognized, but actually the time that I felt like, oh man, I finally made it was whenever I had my own room for junior high.
Oh, I
Like
heard that.
they shut the door and said, "You know what, Ben, just do whatever you got to do." Like that's whenever I was like, dude, I got like that's when I was like, man, that was a cool moment.
I'm in charge now. Like, yeah.
These
You
guys aren't
sit
gonna know what's
down.
gonna hit them.
Yeah,
Just kidding.
exactly.
But yeah, no,
That's
that
awesome.
was because that was so cool because that like in some ways like if you've ever been in ministry under somebody, you felt like the handcuffs are off.
Oh,
Like
Yeah.
yeah.
so I didn't have handcuffs on anymore, so I was like, all right, cool, let's get crazy. Let's do church
Yeah.
online. Let's do church video games. Let's go to the football games together.
Yeah.
Let's do outreaches at the park. Let's get crazy up in here.
Yeah. For the
Like
kingdom.
that's
Crazy for the
right.
king.
Because like one of the first things I did, they were going psycho. The old one of the old high school pastors is all like, "Hey, we're not gonna have summer camp this year," and I was like, "Dude, that's not acceptable. Like that's just not
Nah.
yeah, that's just not
Nah.
acceptable, all right?" And I was like, "Oh no, what are we gonna do?" And so I said, "You know what? I took an old VBS model and I tweaked it for youth ministry,
Oh my
and like."
gosh.
And
That's
we
dope.
had like honestly like we did that for like 3 years, and it was like one of the like seriously it was the cheapest summer camp you could ever imagine in your life, because what we would do is we'd
Oh my
have
gosh.
so in the
These
morning
guys.
we would
Awesome.
I would have donuts like brought in, so the church would just buy the donuts. We'd read a chapter of the Bible, right? And then we'd go off on an adventure, right? So like, oh, we're gonna run to the beach, right? And everybody pack a lunch. We're gonna go to the beach. So we like jumped in church vans, ran to the beach, and then we would come back, and then I'd have one of the parents who the kids were here. I was like, hey, can you cook dinner for us? And they're like, yeah, we got you. So they would bring in enchiladas or whatever,
Oh
and then
man.
and then and then after dinner we would have a quick little Bible study and we'd reset for the next day. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so
Adventure Week.
yeah, Adventure Week, and so like literally it cost nothing.
Adventure Week.
Yeah,
Oh my,
the only thing
dude,
that cost money was the last day because we went to Knott's.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that cost money.
you're
Not
like
very fun.
Einstein of youth ministry over here. I'm like mad scientist. Like, dude, like Mike always said it, and it's so true. It's like we're gonna take spaghetti, and like we're gonna throw pasta at the wall, and if it sticks, we're doing it.
We're going.
Like what's gonna happen if it doesn't work? Well, it
Whatever.
didn't work, but
Yeah, exactly.
what did work, yeah. What's up?
Repeat next year.
Yes.
Yeah, repeat next. Like, let's go.
Dude, all the kids loved it,
It's
dude.
fun.
I think
Yeah.
what was so funny about Adventure Week too, and maybe if you guys don't have that kind of budget, and you're a youth pastor or in youth ministry, steal that idea.
Yeah.
But there was another little hidden secret to why you might want to do that, and is if you go out on a retreat, a summer retreat, you're stuck there in tents and stuff.
Yep.
But Adventure Week, you get to go home and sleep in your own bed.
It's true.
There's a start and a stop.
Let's
You
go.
get to clock out. You don't have to worry about the night. You don't get kept up.
No.
They return home.
Yep.
It's like everything you love about a retreat and VBS. It's like it's awesome. I can go home whenever I want, but
Yeah.
like within reason. Like I don't have to. My parents are gonna come and get me. It's like nope. They'll come get you later when
Yeah,
we're
after
done.
the Bible study. Yeah.
After the
exactly.
Bible study. It's like, but like you're still going out and getting away, and you're doing fun stuff out of
For
the
sure.
ordinary from what your normal life is. So yeah.
Definitely. And those rides in the vans, like those are still legend, Like
See, it's
oh my
not about
gosh.
the trip to. It's not about what you do on the beach.
No.
It's that 15 minutes in the LA traffic.
Yeah,
It's an
no,
hour
50.
and a half in the van.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
Yeah, those are where all the conversations do happen.
Yeah.
oh,
You
for
remember that time that they poured the whole water bottle in the person in front of them?
And
Like
then we called it Chalktober.
yeah. Oh,
Oh no.
No, sorry.
I'm gonna redeem it. We're gonna bring it back. Just kidding.
Let's go.
No, we're done.
Chalktober.
We're done.
I'm sorry. I know. Why did I
I'm
You
gonna
know,
Shark
you
Tank
can't
that
cut
one.
that.
I'm gonna Shark
Yeah.
Tank it. It'll be great. I'll fix it.
Okay, I'm good. I got it. I'm in.
Well, all this time through all these years, these 20 years, I'm sure you picked up tools along the way.
Yeah. For
You
sure.
mean you're way more well equipped and you've gleaned wisdom all along the way, and so you have more tools in the tool belt. What have you added to your arsenal all these years?
Oh man. So there's a lot of different tools. Of course, ministry's changed. I would just, I mean, for the purpose of this podcast, I mean, it started with like, oh man, you have to be a master of, kind of the social platforms
Hmm.
and stuff like that when it first started. But now it doesn't even matter, to be honest. It's all about messaging. So like, as far as like tools and resources that I would kind of say like, oh, practical just to keep communication is there's a little texting app called Reach and it crushes.
Hmm.
It crushes. And because you can put in, it autofills their name and stuff like that. So when you're texting out people, it's just all just one shot. And it's a beautiful thing. It costs like $5 a month. But it's well worth it.
Yeah, and when it sends it out, right, it's like it's not a group thing.
No, it's
Okay.
individual text messages. And so it looks like, hey, listen, like, hey, Ben really did reach out to me about this. Like, it looks legit. There's no way to tell. And so,
Fake. I'm just kidding.
fake.
I'm just
I know
like-
some of the kids are like, hey, man, this, like, I'm like, but it's kind of funny. I just tell them, like, hey, I texted you, didn't I?
Exactly. So like, yeah, you're welcome.
Why didn't you
Yeah.
text back?
I mean,
Yeah,
what are
why
we
didn't
doing
you
here?
text that? Let me all read.
Well,
yeah.
yeah, because if they text me back, then I'm like, all right, cool, conversation time, let's go. you
Yeah.
know?
Yes. We love to talk. That's
Do
so
it.
We'll
good.
figure out an automated response.
Exactly.
No, I gotta ask a quick question, Ben.
Yeah.
Not to be intrusive. Would
Yeah.
would you consider yourself more of an extrovert or an introvert?
Oh, introvert for sure. Most
Seem like you
definitely.
can do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
dude, I am introverted like crazy. I'm really good one-on-one, but group settings, like I get nervous. So like,
Yeah,
it's funny. Like sometimes they'll ask me to teach for the men in the church and stuff like that, or
totally
other
different
churches.
story.
Yeah, completely.
I'd
My
rather have
hands are
12-year-old boys.
my
Like,
my, my
stick
hands
with
are
me.
wet. No,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
And
Yeah.
stuck to the podium.
stuck to the podium. And so like I have
Like,
church, I have people that planted in different sections of the church. So I'm like, hey, you're my safe person. I'm gonna stare at you very uncomfortably right now.
I'm gonna. That's always good to have. Like, I know. Well, me and Mike and I like we talk. I'm very extroverted. Like, very. Like, I like my wife's an introvert. Like being at home all day is how she recoups, and I'm like, get me out of the house. And
Wow.
then like when we go to church, and I'm like, I like it's almost like you feed off other people where it's like I get energy from all the conversations I have. So if I have another convo, I'm like sucking, more energy for myself to get through the week and through the day. And my wife is just absolutely drained. So
She's
like
shot.
yeah. So having like a party, like that's how I recoup from a long week. Having a
Wow.
party. Like,
That's
look at all these
crazy.
people. Oh, we're having a great time. I've just been rejuvenated. And my
Wow.
wife is like, that's the last thing I want to do is to have another thing to work on or do. But I say all that where I'm just trying to make a point where this is for any pastor, right? Like for me, like if I got to preach, I would take the men before like the 12 or 13-year-old boys. And it's interesting because I have an older church, and yet they will tell me they close their eyes, they don't know that I'm 27. It's like, and I'll just like talk like we're equals, and we are.
Mhm.
But it's like, you know what I mean?
Right.
I'll just like, I'm not going in there like, oh my gosh, these guys could be, some of them could be my grandfather. I respect my elders, but it's like, no, they want to hear God's word from me, and like I can like go in, which is like, whoa. But if I was like 13-year-olds, it's like, oh gosh, blank stares. I'm not gonna. They're gonna have no idea what I'm doing. I'm gonna have no idea what I'm doing. I kind of, I miss youth ministry, and like I said earlier, there's times like I don't. But I really wanted to prove. I just really wanted to prove that it's not like you have to be an extrovert. You have to be high energy all the time. This, happy-go-lucky, going above and beyond all the time, 100 miles an hour, like to be able to make it in youth ministry. Like you're not spinning, 10 plates on like those sticks, and you're
Yeah.
always like running around them. No, it's like, hey, I'm gonna just take one stick and one plate, but it's gonna be a really big plate that everyone's gonna want to see. Uh, we're gonna watch us. And I'm trying to spin this huge thing and keep it going. And but if it breaks, that'll be pretty funny too.
That's
Um,
funny.
like
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's like I'm just trying to like people like, do you have the personality for youth? It's like I don't know about personality, um,
Yeah,
but
it's
do
just
you have a
whether
heart?
you're called.
Yeah.
Do you
It's
have
like
that heart for youth ministry?
people people say that about me too. It's like I'm a total introvert. Like please get me away from people, put me in a
We're
dark
friends
room
because of
with
me.
a with a
Welcome.
with a PS4 or PS5 and I'll be fine
Yeah.
for the entire year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're good.
it is funny cuz I think that's why we were such good friends. It was like when we went to the lunch tables and everyone was surrounded, I felt like you protected me.
You're welcome.
Like everyone's
The
like
buffer.
firing questions and you were sitting next to me answering them all. I could eat my stuff, just kind of like passively
Yeah.
feel like I'm being social. And then once I felt like, okay, I'm good, I'm ready to talk, like it was sort of the end of the lunchtime, right? And now you needed to scarf down food, so now
I
you were
did.
eating, and then I sort of took second or probably
Yeah.
third shift. I think you took the first two.
Hey, there's nothing more I love more than the sound of my own voice. So you're good. No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
we were a team.
yeah,
Still
and
kind of are.
and it just doesn't matter if you're extrovert or introvert.
Yeah,
It like
your
when the
heart.
Lord equips you, you're gonna speak out and you're gonna go out and you're gonna do those things, even out of your
Exactly.
comfort zone.
Exactly. 100
Well,
man.
Well, Ben,
Nice.
I just wanna I just wanna thank you for being with us.
For
You
sure.
know, telling your story. It's really good to see kind of how you've grown throughout all the ministry, and then even as you just shared with us in the episode, you know, that's all the wisdom that you gleaned through these 20 years, and it's no small thing, man. So we really appreciate you kind of coming in and taking youth ministry and bringing it to the ground level. And so yeah, thanks for coming.
For sure.
And folks, you heard it here. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. We love all of that stuff. We hope you appreciated the episode with him in youth ministry. If you haven't seen that, you probably should have gone to see that first before you saw this. But we just appreciate your support and all that you do for us. So we love you, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.
Yeah, make sure you comment.
Yeah.